Hey guys, so for today's project I'm going to be making a quick and easy birthday card, and for my sentiment I'm going to be using sketch pens instead of stamps. So I'm going to go ahead and get started. The first thing I need is to actually draw a rectangle to be the base portion of my card. So I'm just going to draw quickly a rectangle, and I'm going to resize it by using the scale tool. So I'm going to uncheck this box. This is lock aspect ratio, and I'm going to change this to 4 by 5 1/4 because I want my card to have a little bit of a pattern background. So this is now going to be the front panel of my card. And for my sentiment, I have a design that I purchased from the online store, and it is a sketch design. It says sketch. So when it opens, you're going to see that it's actually a single line. It's not a figure with like a hole in the middle. So it's not meant to cut. It's meant to be written. And size-wise, it looks about right. So I'm going to just go ahead and place it approximately in the center. If you really want to make sure it's perfectly centered, you can use the align tools, but it's not that important to me. Now, I'm going to use the pencil tool to draw a box to loop around, but one thing I foresee being an issue is the way this tail is situated. So unless I want to like loop it around, it's going to be this jagged like line, and I don't want that. So I'm going to go ahead and use the knife tool, and I'm using the designer edition of Silhouette Studio. So if you're using the standard edition, some of these features may not be available. And I have the knife tool selected, and I'm going to go ahead and cut this little part of the tail off just so I don't have to swoop up when I'm drawing the box around. So that looks pretty good. And next I can take that pencil tool and I can draw a box around. And the box I'm going to draw is actually going to house my little bows, which you'll see during the assembly process. And this pencil tool is the self-smoothing one. If you look on the left-hand side, you'll see you actually have two. One of them here says draw freehand, and the other one, if you put your mouse over it, will say draw smooth freehand. And that just means the image kind of smooths itself out as you draw it. It won't be as jagged if you don't have a super smooth hand or you're not drawing with like a tablet. But anyways, now that I have my pencil tool selected, I'm going to start off at the tail of this particular sentiment where it says happy and connect it back around to the H here on the other side. And you'll see as I draw it that it's going to self-correct, and I'm going to try to stay in the box. Now, I've done this on other projects, and I usually have to do it 100 times, but I'm going to try this time to only have to do it once. Okay, so that looks pretty good for the most part. It wasn't really looking for perfection, but I do see where I missed connecting these tails. So I'm going to go ahead and select this happy image and bring it down. And I'm going to do the same thing to the other side. Now there's still a gap right here. So if I select it and then I go to this edit point, I can actually drag this guy down and make him match. Now I could have did that on the other side as well, but this on the right looked like a much smaller gap than it did on the left. So now that I'm happy with the way this looks, I'm going to go ahead and change the line colors. Now, if you haven't worked with different line color settings before, I'll link a video in the annotations here of where I've done some projects before where you cut by line color so you can switch in between cutting and writing with your pens. So for the actual box, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to change that to a different color. I'm going to change it to purple just so it's easier to just tell the difference between what I'm doing. And when I send this to the Silhouette now, I'll have the option of doing either the purple line or the red line, depending on what is loaded into the carriage of my machine. So you get these extra options by changing it to advanced in the cut conditions menu. So first I'm going to load a sketch pen, and I'm going to do the portion that is going to be the writing, and then I'm going to load the blade again, and then I'll switch it back and I'll cut out the purple one and I'll turn the red off. So I'm going to toggle between the two. But like I said, if you haven't seen this done before, I'll link to another video I did where I completed a project and explained cut by line color. So I'm going to go ahead and get this all drawn and cut out and assemble the rest. Here's the piece that I made using my Cameo. And I'm going to be using several pieces of pattern paper, all from one 6x6 paper pack. And this is from Stampin' Up. I can't recall what the name is at the moment, but I'll link it in the description box down below. And I'm going to be using kind of a chevron type pattern for the background. And I'm going to trim it down so that the chevrons or the lines are even on both sides, so I don't have an uneven pattern. And I'm going to attach it down to my card base using some really strong adhesive. I think this is Fast Fuse. I'm going to attach this panel to the front, but before I do that, I'm going to create some bows to fill in that opening or that box above Happy. I've taken 2 other pieces of pattern paper from that 6x6 pack, and I'm going to use this bow punch to build 2 bows to go above the Happy Birthday. Now you have to punch it out twice to get enough pieces, and I definitely could have made the same thing just cutting it using my Cameo, but I decided that I would just stick with the punch because I knew it was the perfect size for this project. I knew that it was card size already. So I'm going to adhere the bow together using a bunch of mini glue dots. And even though it is a lot of pieces, it is very easy to assemble. You just take the glue dot and glue each piece together. So I've folded each one of the loops together, and now I'm attaching the loops together in the center, and then there's going to be a band that goes around the middle, and then also the 2 tails that stick either out of the bottom or off the side depending on how you want it to look. As you can see, I used several glue dots when assembling this little bow because I didn't want the final bow to fall apart. Now you definitely could use just tape runner adhesive, but I find it easier to work with the glue dots in all these little nooks and crannies and sealing different things closed. I repeated the same assembly process and created the yellow bow that you see there, and I'm going to start assembling my actual card. So I have the front panel that I'm going to glue down flat to the card base, and the reason I decided to go flat with it was because I knew the bows were already going to add quite a bit of dimension to the front of the card. And I'm going to continue just using glue dots on the bow since they're a little bit stronger than regular adhesive, and I didn't want to wait for liquid glue to dry. Once I was happy with where the bows were, I just applied a little bit of pressure to make the bow actually stick to the back of the card. And here's a look at the final product. And as always, guys, thanks for watching.